Hello everybody. If you want to read all the story's content in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. Short story 727, The Spare Room, Advanced. Marta's London flat was a capsule of quiet order. Every ceramic bowl had its place, every book its shelf. This precise harmony was her bulwark against the city's chaos, a learned language of calm. So when her nephew, Leo, all of 22 and fresh from a sudden bruising breakup, asked for a place to stay, just for a few days, she felt the first faint crack in her walls. He arrived with a single overstuffed rucksack and a cloud of restless energy. The spare room, which had served as a neat study, was engulfed. Cables snaked across the floor, a laptop glowed on the desk, and a faint, sweet smell of laundry powder and boyish sweat lingered. Marta would pause at the doorway, her hand on the frame, taking in the disruption. Leo was a storm of apologies and digital noise. He took loud and enthusiastic calls about a band Marta had never heard of. He left mug rings on the oak table. His presence was a constant, low-frequency vibration in her flat. One Tuesday evening, the tension found its voice. Marta, after meticulously wiping a counter for the third time, turned to see Leo slumped on her sofa, staring blankly at his phone. "Can you not just sit there?" she said, her voice sharper than intended. He looked up, wounded. "What should I be doing?" "Something. Anything. You're filling the space with nothing." He stood up, his phone clattering to the floor. "That's what I am to you, isn't it? Nothing. Just a messy problem in your spare room." He retreated, closing the door with a soft, definitive click. The silence that followed felt heavier than any noise. Marta stayed in the perfect, empty lounge, hearing the echo of her own words. She had not meant that. Or had she? The next day was a brittle dance of avoidance. In the late afternoon, seeking a truce, she knocked and entered with a cup of tea. He was not gaming or scrolling. He was bent over a large sketch pad, a deep frown of concentration on his face. "Leo?" He started, then instinctively angled the pad away, but not before she saw. It was a detailed, exquisite pencil drawing of the view from his window, not the grand London skyline, but the weathered brick of the opposite wall, the intricate iron lattice of a fire escape, a single stubborn weed in a gutter. He had seen beauty in the mundane geometry she herself cherished, but had never thought to capture. "I didn't know you drew," she said, placing the tea down. "Used to," he mumbled. "Haven't for ages. Just felt like it." She looked closer. The shading on the brickwork was masterful. "It's very good, Leo, really." He met her eye for the first time in days. "Thanks, Aunt Marta." That evening she did not wipe the counter. She went to her own cupboard and pulled out a large flat box. Inside was a set of professional watercolour paints, unopened, a gift from a life she no longer led. She carried it to the spare room door, which was ajar. "Leo," she said. He looked up from his pad. "I have these. They're going to waste with me. Perhaps you could use them." He took the box, his eyes widening at the quality. "These are serious. Thank you." A week later, Leo's few days became a planned fortnight. The room was still untidy, but now the chaos had a focal point. A small drafting table by the window, crowded with paints, brushes and sheets of paper, alive with London's hidden faces. A market stall holder, a sleeping commuter, the cat from the newsagents. Marta began to bring her coffee in, sitting on the edge of the desk, asking quiet questions about technique. One afternoon she pointed to a blank postcard on his desk. "Could you show me just how you start?" He looked surprised, then pleased. He pulled up a stool. Okay, so you look for the basic shapes first. See that building? It's not a building. It's just a series of rectangles. She picked up a pencil, her grip awkward. Under his guidance, her rigid lines began to soften. She focused not on creating a perfect image, but on the simple act of seeing. The room was quiet, but the silence was no longer empty. It was full of a shared, peaceful purpose. Leah moved out a month later, into a flat share with an art student he'd met. The spare room felt very still after he left. Marta cleaned it thoroughly, returning it to its state as a neat study. But on the desk she did not place her old ledger. Instead she left a sketch pad, a set of good pencils, and the postcard from the first lesson, now framed. A wobbly but sincere sketch of her own kitchen window. The flat was orderly once more, but the order now felt like a choice, not a fortress wall. The space was not just for keeping things out, but for letting the right things in. She sometimes missed the clutter, the digital noise, the sweet, warm smell, but mostly she appreciated the quiet, which she now knew how to fill. Vocabulary notes. Bulwark. Story example. This precise harmony was her bulwark against the city's chaos. Meaning and notes. A bulwark, noun, is a defense wall or something that acts as a strong defense or protection against something negative, like danger, criticism, or unwanted influence. In the story, Marta's orderly flat is a metaphorical wall protecting her from London's hectic nature. Similar words. Bastion, rampart, safeguard, stronghold, fortification. Mundane. Story example. He had seen beauty in the mundane geometry she herself cherished. Meaning and notes. Mundane, adjective, describes something that is very ordinary, commonplace, or lacking excitement. It often has a slightly negative connotation of being boring or routine. The word highlights the contrast between Leo's artistic vision and the everyday scene he chose to draw. Similar words. Ordinary, commonplace, humdrum, routine, prosaic, quotidian. Brittle. Story example. The next day was a brittle dance of avoidance. Meaning and notes. Brittle, adjective, literally means hard but liable to break easily, like thin ice or dry twigs. Figuratively, it describes a tense, fragile, and easily damaged atmosphere or a state of relations. It perfectly captures the delicate, uncomfortable silence between Marta and Leo after their argument. Similar words. Fragile, tense, strained, delicate, uneasy. Definitive. Story example. He retreated, closing the door with a soft, definitive click. Meaning and notes. Definitive, adjective, here means serving to end an argument, question, or conflict in a final, unambiguous way. It is conclusive. The click of the door wasn't loud or angry, but its finality made it a clear statement that the conversation was over. Similar words. Conclusive, final, decisive, unambiguous, categorical. Concentration. Story example. He was bent over a large sketch pad, a deep frown of concentration on his face. Meaning and notes. Concentration, noun, refers to the action or power of focusing one's attention or mental effort solely on a single object or activity. The deep frown is a physical sign of his intense focus, showing Leo is fully absorbed in his drawing. Similar words. Focus, attentiveness, absorption, immersion, preoccupation, though preoccupation can imply distracting thoughts. Story written by DeepSeek. Image created by Flux Schnell. To read all the story's content in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. CC Music, Drifting at 432 Hz, Unicorn Heads.